911 emergency, what do you report?
911, what's your emergency? This is police. How can I help you?
You're listening to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of We Speak Dispatch, because if we are talking dispatch, hopefully that's got you talking dispatch as well. So we've got our usual cast of suspects here today, or not suspects, I would just say
well,
podcasters. So we've got Doug up there. How you doing, Doug?
hello, everybody. Good morning.
Excellent. How about you, Joe? What's going on there?
Doing great. Just got home from some mountain climbing.
Wow.
Awesome. And John, how about you?
We're melting from humidity.
Yes, I can attest to that. And we've got a great guest today. Her name is Bridget. So Bridget, tell us a little bit about you and what's going on with you and We Speak Dispatch.
My name is Bridget, and I work for an emergency dispatch service in Middle Tennessee.
Nice.
Nice. Now, what topic did you want to bring to the table today? Because you had a lot that you can talk about. Like most dispatchers are like, well, we can do this and they can do this and they can do this. So what's your passion? What do you want to talk about today?
At the moment, I'm pretty excited that my county commissioners have and my board have allowed me to try to push forward reclassification.
Nice.
And so far, we've gone before committees and everyone has been very receptive to the idea, our local sheriff. And Thursday night, we got the approval of the final committee. So the reclassification for Wilson County dispatchers will be brought before the full commission on June 17th, and it's expected to pass unanimously.
Awesome.
So
I know that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Doug.
I said, this is only for Wilson County, though?
Yes.
It's not the whole state? You're not working on the whole state?
We have to get there. We do have plans. I do have a couple of backers for the state. One of the commissioners that I'm working with is already drawn up her resolutions and everything to get the backing for it. And we're going to present it to the state as a standalone bill, not as a piggyback.
Oh.
So I know that reclassification has been a topic for a lot of dispatch centers across the country. So can you, since you're currently going through it, what is reclassification? Because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what it is and why it's so important.
So the reclassification process is so that the federal government will reclassify public safety telecommunicators as first responders versus secretaries, which is what we're classified at now. So that in some places, it keeps those telecommunicators from having access to certain mental health benefits and stuff like that. Most places, that's not the case, but it just, for respect and retention, recruitment, all of those things, being classified as a first responder will help us obtain better qualified candidates and be able to hold on to them longer.
Right. I know that I used to work in California, and that was Norma Torres, who was
Right.
the 911 Saves Act and all of that, was a huge supporter because she was a former dispatcher, so she could certainly understand that. What can people do if they want to find out, hey, has my state already reclassified us, or what has the process been for you, and how can people get more involved?
For me, I went to the NENA website. NENA has every state and everything that is listed out as to who has bills on the table, who don't. Tennessee did have one, but it was attached to a pretty hefty financial stipulations.
Really?
And
wow.
it was.
Wow.
It was
To reclassify, it costs money to reclassify people?
well, it was piggybacked.
Oh.
So what we're looking at doing is presenting a piece of legislation that is not piggybacked, is going to stand alone. And because it doesn't cost anything to reclassify, then the hope is that that standalone bill will pass. For me, I went to one of the county commissioners and said, hey, do you know that we're not classified as public safety as first responders? And she was like, surely you are. And
no, really, I'm not.
My director, of course, before I went anywhere. But when she got to talking to the sheriff, he had no idea. And so it just kind of spread from there. And so far, all of our county commissioners have been amazing. So it's not going to get the whole county because we do have 2 cities. But we're also going to go before those 2 city councils and try to get those approved as well, and then move on to the state.
Yeah, well, congratulations
Wow.
on getting that done. I'm just going to ask one quick question because at least in the state where I reside, and it's not Wyoming, it's actually Iowa, but we were reclassified as first responders in Iowa, one of the first few states to do it. I'm pretty proud of that. But the second step is becoming protected class status for retirement purposes. So just for clarity for people listening, are you currently seeking first responder status and protected class status, or simply first responder status?
So for us, which is totally different than most places, we already have our retirement set up as a first responder.
Oh, nice.
Everything was already set up that way. So we're already in that protected class. So right now we're only seeking the reclassification for that purpose.
That's why it's so different from state to state, and why I wanted to ask. Bridget, that answer is really great. Thanks for answering that one.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's different in all the states. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it's from county to county as well.
Oh my God.
Right. Yeah, I had no idea it was so diverse at the county level. And if people, I know Doug will add this to the podcast, but if people want to find out if their state has reclassified them, they can go on the NENA website or just type in, reclassification as a 911 dispatcher. You'll be directed to the NENA website, and there's an interactive map that will show which states have already reclassified. And there's several, but it's not across the board. It's not something that is automatic, which is
does everybody is there a like group of people doing this state to state? I mean, is there people working together, different states are working together and trying to get this thing moving as a big joint thing, or is it just everybody's got to be individualized to get this thing? Because I mean, it sounds like, Bridget, you're just working for Wilson County, but what about all the other counties? What about all the other states? Is anybody working like together to get this kind of thing? You said Nina's got a work group or something like that. So, right? Is that what they got, Leslie? You're muted, so we don't want to hear you.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know that Nina necessarily has a work group per se, but they are keeping track of what's going on. But I don't know that, that would be your first turn. I would imagine, Bridget, if somebody is now realizing, wow, I live in, say, Utah, I'm just looking at the map now and they haven't been reclassified, or Arizona, because Doug, you were just there. So if I live in one of those states where we haven't been reclassified, what would you suggest somebody do to start the process that you are currently in?
Make friends with your local officials.
Just start hanging out at the Capitol. Okay.
We have a great group of county commissioners. Some of them I have known for many years. And I have to say, if I would have known that it would have been so, I wouldn't say simple, but easy to have access to this and be able to do it, I would have done it years ago. I just didn't know the inner workings of our local government and how to go about doing that. So just getting to know your city council, your county commissioners, having them as a resource. The one that is supporting me is ex-military, and so she took it and run. She was amazing in helping me get this accomplished. I don't know that I would have been able to do it without her. So that would be my starting point.
Hey,
That's
John,
awesome.
is the state you used to work in, did they already pass it in that state?
As far as I'm aware, no, not statewide. I believe
really?
some localities, to Bridget's point, are recognized
Yeah.
that way.
Wow.
And see, we would be the first state of Tennessee.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised about that. I would have thought there would have been some bigger agencies in the state that would have done
I
that
think
already.
their city council and did more of that protective class,
Yeah.
but I don't know that they were reclassified. They are not popping on the NINA map.
Oh, wow.
And I think, and we've talked about this ad nauseum on this podcast, about the responsibility then becomes for the people who are in this profession to recognize it as such, recognize it that it is a profession, that being reclassified doesn't, wave a magic wand and now everybody's going to respect you. It still requires you to take charge of your training and the way that you interact with people. And I think reclassification is one of those things where I don't want to say that it gives more validity to the profession, but I think it does elevate it to a point that maybe some people are going to go, oh, wow, this is something I can go from the beginning of my career all the way to the end, as opposed to, oh, I'm just a dispatcher, or I'm just a call taker or something like that.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. I wonder if they talked about it at that 901 Goes to Washington. Do you know if they talked, was that an issue that popped up, or I didn't go to it, so I wasn't.
I would imagine they would have.
Yeah, being so close to DC and the federal government, I suspect it's always a topic. I thought there were pictures where they stood outside the Capitol, in fact.
There was, but I don't know if they were like talking about that specific topic for the country. I mean, I think a lot of it is so individualized, which is kind of crazy. I'm just curious if agencies are reluctant to do it, because if you say now they're public safety people, we probably should train them better. I mean, I'm like, I wonder if the thing, and training comes with money and all, it's just like, oh yeah, yay. So
right.
Yeah.
A lot of that. They know it's the first step, I think, too, Doug, to protected class status or retirement. So some people like Bridget already have it, but they're reluctant in my mind to do it because they know once they get first responders that they're going to want the retirement aspect of it as well. And that's going to cost municipalities and local government more money to fund.
So if somebody's listening to this and they don't know what protective class status retirement is, what is that, Joe?
It's a status where the way I describe it is where certain professions meet protected class status, where their job puts them in some kind of jeopardy. And so they end up contributing more to their retirement, and the municipality that they work for contributes more to their retirement, and they're able to retire in a shorter amount of years over the course of their career. And I think that's why 911 dispatchers want it, is because after listening to these things for 20 plus years, the mental health aspect and making sure we can retire and still be healthy. So it's a big deal.
Wow. That is a big deal. I mean, you spend this much time. I don't want to see a 75-year-old dispatcher. I mean, it's like, that's crazy. I mean, it's like they should get that kind of status where they can go out a little bit faster and save some of their sanity for this later.
And Bridget, do you think I described that right? Does that explain what you're getting in your own retirements, that you're already getting that?
Yes, our policy is still 25 to 30 years through our retirement. However, we do have that extra classification.
Is the minimum, Bridget, 25? When you say 25 to 30?
Yes.
And then after 30, does the individual have to retire?
No, not for my. I feel like we have certain ages also that are in there. Okay. So
yeah,
that's all a little bit above my head.
I know in Iowa, you can't be a sworn off law enforcement personnel at age, they say 65, but really it's 65 and 364 days. So in other words, you can't
oh, wow, really?
Yeah, you can't be 66. So you can't be 66 and be certified as a law enforcement officer in the state of Iowa. I don't know if that means protected class status or it just means law enforcement. I don't know what the separation is there, but that's something we would have to look into if we move towards protected class.
So I could still be an officer? Wow, this is nice.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I think that there's so much more about this topic that hopefully people who are listening to this podcast go back and start to look to see, you know, am I in my county or even in my state? Am I part of this conversation? Because I think it's something that people need to pay attention to, because like Bridget, you mentioned, there's some benefits to this reclassification that may not necessarily be monetary. Wow. Edit that out. may not necessarily be monetary initially, but it's the long-term care for the people who are in this job that counts.
Yeah. Wow.
Awesome.
Good.
Awesome. Well, we are at time, so I want to thank Bridget for coming, because this is a truly important topic.
Yeah.
And, you know, reach out if you want to learn more about reclassification. Go on Nina's website, reach out to any of us. We can put you in touch with Bridget if you've got some questions that are specific to Tennessee, and we would love to start this conversation at your level as well.
We can go ahead and release Bridget's home address. No problem.
Yeah.
And
She enjoys people just showing up at her door and
midnight,
knocking at
2
her door
o'clock
and
in the
saying,
morning,
"Hey,
whatever."
yeah,
She'll talk to your councilman too.
That's
right. Yeah. And
Just send
your
them the
field
address
units.
of the legislature, and
Yeah, it'll be great.
hey,
You'll love it.
she'll make it happen. But the
Bridget
cool thing
told us
is,
to come.
Leslie and everybody, is it wasn't hard for you. Like the first step wasn't hard.
It was
Right.
not. Networking is absolutely essential.
Oh, good.
Yes, and we have shared that concept a number of times, that you got to go out when you go to meetings, talk to people,
Yeah.
make friends, exchange business cards, share stories, whatever that is, but start the conversation.
That's
There
it.
you go. There you go.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, you want to give us an update to
Absolutely.
all of the conversations that we've started as a result of We Speak Dispatch?
All 40,000 conversations.
That's right.
We're almost nearing 40,000 plays, so make sure you're tuning into We Speak Dispatch. If you want to be a guest like Bridget, email us at wespeakdispatch@gmail.com, and make sure you're listening to us on your favorite social media platform or podcast, because we're all over the place.
There you go. Woo.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Bridget, thanks very much for joining us. And we are thrilled that you started this conversation. We have a great day, and everybody making a good shift.
Bye,
Thank y'all so
everybody. See ya.
What's your